Hi everybody, I'm Professor Victoria Febrer, a teaching artist with the 92nd Street Y, and we have a very special project today. I'm here with my friend Erin Treacy, and Erin is a fine artist who, like me, is very interested in nature as well.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about the project, and it can be hard thinking about, as landscape artists, how do we bring that inside right now when we're all home, but there are some fun ways to do that.
Before we get started, here's a list of the materials you'll need. Some kitchen or garden scraps. Keep these in a plastic bag on a towel so they don't make a mess. A sheet of paper. Any colorful materials you like. I'll be using crayons, markers, and colored pencils. First, we are going to talk to Erin about her artwork, and then I'll show you how we can make our own project inspired by her compost drawings.
Could you tell us a little bit about your process when you're working indoors?
So when I get to go out places, I love going and finding, broken sticks and collecting different rocks and looking at trees in the landscape. And I save all my vegetable and fruit scraps after I've eaten them. And in order to, make sure I don't get any bugs or anything, I stick mine in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer. And then once that bag is accumulated, I compost it.
What gave you the idea to start drawing those scraps?
When I took out the scraps and I was getting ready to put it into the brown bin provided by New York City Sanitation, I just looked at it one day and I was like, this is really beautiful. Once COVID-19 arrived and we were all, wanting to be safe and staying at home, I couldn't go out into the landscape. And so I started looking at those even more and thinking about how they can become these, these landscapes for themselves. And they're reflective of the outside and they can be reflective of us. Like the food we eat can be a landscape of who we are as a person.
I love that because, as you know, I also create little mountains inside of my studio by crunching up paper. So a lot of landscape artists have had to be really resourceful since they've moved indoors. Can you tell us a little bit about how you set up for making your drawings? And I see that you make a little stage with a towel and the bag underneath.
It is food and it is melting, so there's food and water, and I don't want to make a big mess, so I put a towel down first.
Can you tell us about the materials that you use for your drawing?
I use a lot of different materials. In this picture you have on view a bunch of different markers. Not in the picture frame though. I work with like crayons and charcoal and pencil and watercolor.
So just a lot of mixed media, different materials that you have on hand and lots of colorful materials.
Yes.
So I have a picture of the finished piece. So when I look at a work of art with my students, the first thing I like to do is ask them what they notice about the work of art.
What do you notice about this work of art? What do you think the artist was trying to show us? And what are the clues that tell you that? You can pause the screen here and take a look for a few moments while you make observations.
When I first look at this piece, I notice that you have such a variety of marks and colors, and a lot of lines are overlapping.
Mark making is always a big thing for me. So if I'm in the landscape or I'm home, I like to think about that variety because I think not only is it important, it kind of makes us understand something more. I'm looking at all the different textures that are there. And so some textures are going to be a little bit larger, like I was talking about an avocado, or like a lime that has like all these little dots. So I try to think about how to make those patterns. I'm working with a lot of different materials here and anything that I can find. And so that is going to automatically make that difference. So some of my markers are thick and some of them are thin. And when you take a crayon, you can draw really lightly and have a thin line, or you can press down really hard and have a thick line. And I like doing that not just because of what I see, but because of how it makes me feel. Like that's it's like it's play. You're playing with the different materials, and it's if we can't do as much running around outside, it also like becomes physical to think about what's super light, what's super hard, what is poking of a whole bunch, what's drawing a bunch of triangles. It's all different ways to move your arm and to move your eyes together.
I also like to use a lot of line weights, like pressing really hard and then pressing lightly, like you mentioned, and really playing with the surface. I know we're not supposed to play with our food, but after we're done with dinner, we can play with it.
And then there's also the different colors that are coming here. And so because I'm working with different materials, sometimes I don't have the exact color pink that I want or the exact purple that I want. Those were some onion scraps that you're seeing there. So if I don't have that, it doesn't bother me. I just go for the closest color that I can find and I use that. And I like that that actually tends to make it brighter.
Excellent. And I see that you sometimes overlap lines that are going in different directions, like cross-hatching, and in other areas you're creating textures by making swirling marks or by even making dots with the tip of the marker.
I use the cross-hatching and having lots of layers of lines over an area to show where a shadow might be, and then we'll have less of those where the sun's hitting it. And the same thing with lots of dots. So that can show that there's one area that is getting less light than the other area. And that helps us to understand a little bit of how we might hold that object.
Thanks so much, Erin. Now I'm going to show everybody how we can make our own compost drawings inspired by yours at home. Watch my demonstration first, and then at the end, you can start your own artwork.
So I have my still life set up. It's made entirely out of discarded items from the kitchen and garden. So I've got a banana peel and coffee grounds, eggshells from my breakfast, tops of strawberries, an apple core, and then from outside I've got some cherry blossoms that fell off the tree on a little branch. So I'm going to start out by drawing a crinkly bag along the base, and I'm using my crayon here, just kind of figuring out where things go. And remember all that beautiful mark making in Erin's piece, so I want to use all different kinds of lines. I'm going to start adding in some of my objects. So here are my chunky little strawberry tops.
The music you're hearing while I draw is Bach's Chromatic Fantasy and Fugue, performed by my friend Antonio Valentin. Antonio is a Czechoslovakian-Filipino pianist, performing artist, and teacher in New York City.
So remember, you can switch things up and use all the materials you have. And I'm going to use my marker too. So I've outlined my banana, and now I'm going to color it in with crayon. And I want to show that the banana's got some brown spots on it. Here are my coffee grounds. So I'm going to use some swirls to show the coffee grounds here. And you know what? I liked how this texture came out, so I think I'm also going to do some of that. And let's see if we can get those eggshells in there. And the eggshell is pretty smooth, so I'm going to color it in very nicely. When I want to color in something really neatly, what I do is I outline my shape first, and then I color in until I don't see any white. And I go pretty carefully to make sure I stay in the lines and cover everything. Let's draw that apple core. I think I want to show the bite marks in this apple core. So now I've got all of these pretty flowers here. So I'm using a different type of line to capture these. I just love how raggedy all of these shapes are. They're really fun to draw. I'm going to outline these leaves first using my pencil. And then I'm going to add some color with the crayon. And I'm going to add some of the texture of the veins on those leaves. shade the side of my eggshell. And I'm going to outline this one a bit. Sometimes it's nice to go back on top with marker or pen or even pencil. Just kind of reassert your outlines and add a bit more contrast. So I use some overlapping there because the banana peel is in front of this piece of plant back there. So what I do is I start drawing and then I lift my tool in the air, draw in the air, and then touch down again. And that way I know that my object that's overlapped looks like it's connected all the way through. So for the rest of these areas, I think I'm going to mostly just do different scribbles that will help me fill in, and I'll add some color as well. And you can be messy when you draw, because the truth is, you're drawing something that's messy. So making messier marks is going to help better portray your subject. So I'm coming back in to add some darker lines, and we call those different line weights. Different line weights can help you distinguish which objects are closer and which are further away. So just like overlapping, it helps to show you where things are in space in your drawing. So because I'm a landscape painter, I'm inspired to make this look like an island. So I'm going to add some water in front of this blue. And note that I'm using the side of my crayon so that I can cover a large area, and then I turn it upright when I want to make marks on top of that. I think I'm going to use this softer blue to do kind of a sky. Okay, so I think mine is almost done. And before I finish, I hold it out in front of me so that I can ask myself, does this look complete? Are there any finishing touches that I need before I sign it? Take a look. Yeah, I think I want to fill in the background a little bit more. So that looks pretty good to me, so I think I'm ready to sign it. This is my finished work of art. What do you think, Erin?
That looks awesome. I love that you can see like the colors in there as well, and you have the different lines that are coming in that are giving it the texture, starting to droop a little bit, which makes me think actually of like what compost does. When you work it, it will go back into the landscape and it starts to seep into the ground and provide nourishment for the environment and for the land. So it, tells me about what you eat, and I'm glad to see you're eating very healthy with all of your fruits and vegetables, and that there is a connection between what we eat and what the earth eats, and I do love that you have this horizon line in the back, and that horizon line is always so lovely, and I think about all of the artwork that you make, and how it connects the earth and the sky.
Oh, thank you so much, Erin. I really appreciate that. So thank you, everybody, for making art with us, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.